Sims, let's go. Hello everyone, it's your girl Miracle Sims and you're watching the GSL Talk Show. Tonight we're going to be chatting with what I feel is a true definition of a power couple, Pastor Dean and Miss HollyKem Sunseri. Stay tuned. That's you, Miracle Sims, let's go. Not the type of girl that goes. Yeah, it's a miracle, baby. Shot you, Miracle Sims, let's go. Welcome back to the GSL Talk Show. I'm here with Dr. Dean Sunseri and also Miss HollyKem Sunseri. How are you doing?
Doing good.
Excited to be here.
Glad to have you all here as well. Welcome to the GSL Talk Show. So, tell me where you all are from and a little bit about yourself.
So we're from New Orleans, or HollyKem's actually from south of New Orleans, if you can believe there is a south, Thibodeau. But we've been married 33 years and met here in New Orleans. We both have we're working in the mental health field. And connected there and been together ever since.
Nice. And so I've been to New Orleans, or at least Louisiana, one time. But it was nice. I want to go back. Me and my husband said we were going to try to go. That was supposed to be our first trip, but that was we've been married 8 years. We still ain't been yet. So see,
you're not that far from us.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't too bad. The time that I went, we had to drive. I was on I had to do a show for this mystery company I was working for, and I had to drive my car, which I probably wasn't supposed to be doing that. But anyway, yeah, the car never was acting the same since then. Anyway, but it was a good experience. It was good to go there. We did this show on the boat. It was nice. Kind of got a little bit of the feel because we ate at can't remember one of the restaurants. I think one of them was called Sisters or.
Oh, Court of Two Sisters?
Maybe we had poor boys there.
Oh,
like the cigar bar. I don't remember the name of it afterwards because he was into cigars, but so I had to add along because it was just me and him. But yeah, it was a good experience. Though. I want to go back and actually feel like a guest or something.
Yes, come back. It's awesome.
Yeah, I have to come see y'all. It's so funny too. I was thinking about New Orleans. I want to say last week I talked to a guest and his last name was Charlebois. And he said it like that. He wanted me to say it like that. And I was like, this makes me think about New Orleans. He was up in Canada though. So I guess it was more French or whatever, but still it made me think about New Orleans. But anyway, all right. So obviously you all are here for, not only just a good time to talk about New Orleans, but also, I mean, getting into, more about you all, maybe as a couple, maybe as, the work that you all do. I mean, we're open to hearing all of it, man. Who wants to start about their childhood?
Oh, yeah.
How was it growing up and all that? Who are you?
Well, it's an interesting story how we met, and because really the way we met has led to our life work, huh?
Yes, definitely.
Why don't you tell them about that?
I love hearing love stories. How do y'all
love hearing love stories?
Yeah.
Well, tragedy to love, Yeah, so I've been sober for 41 years. I'm a recovering drug addict and alcoholic. And I got sober at 22 years old. I met Dean when I was 27. And through that process of learning to work on myself and learning to recover who I really was, learning to, find the love in my heart, I met Dean, and we always say it was the junkie and the priest that met. So, he was going to be a Catholic priest. He was studying, and I loved God. And so they told me that he was, in the seminary and studying to be, a priest. So I went up to him and said, we're in the 12-step movement. And I said, hey, I love God. I love Jesus. I said, would you be willing to have coffee with me? I said, most people can't handle me because ever since I was a little girl, I loved Jesus. I shot dope with Jesus. That's why I got sober at 22 and not dead, you know. So 'cause I was living a really rough life, and he saved me. And so I didn't know the word. I grew up a little Catholic girl. I didn't know the word, like, you know, some churches teach. And I was figured he knew more of the Bible than I did. So I wanted to hang out with him and have coffee and learn.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So he was at the program, and then it was kind of like, and you just saw him and was like, he might
Well,
be somebody to work with type.
yeah.
My
Well,
understanding.
Yeah, well, what happened on my side was I was actually on the way out of the seminary. I was
yeah,
in,
I didn't know that though.
I was,
Oh.
you know, I always had a strong calling on my life. And if you grew up Catholic, then that's the option. But I started to realize that that lifestyle and that choice wasn't going to work for me. And as I was transitioning out, that's really when I met her. But we had a mutual friend, Robert, who was actually her roommate.
Yeah.
And Robert said he really felt sorry for me because I was like a really serious student. And he's like, dude, you have to have some fun. You know, you're too serious. And so he said, I want you to meet me and my roommate and some other friends, and we're going to hang out. And so I said, okay, PJ's Coffee or Magazine. Okay, so we're meeting there. And HollyKem walked in and he introduced her as his roommate. And I was quite, many things started waking up in me that had been dormant for many years, you know. So I took the vow of celibacy very seriously, you know, while I was in priestly formation. And so things started to awaken, you know. That was my first one of my awakenings, and when I saw her. But we really realized that one of the things I realized was, you know, we're struggling emotionally, psychologically for a number of reasons that were going on at that time myself. But she had been committed on this journey of growing closer to God and growing emotionally and spiritually, psychologically. And I had been committed too, because, you know, our emotional immaturity or stunnedness and psychological issues will stop our connection with God, will stop our spiritual growth. And so we were both committed to growing in all three of those areas. So even though I was coming out of the seminary, she was coming out of the streets, that's what we had in common. And that journey together has really become our life work. You know, we ended up writing a book, A Roadmap to the Soul. We talk about the process of combining those three things in together in order to become the best of who we are. And it's just been a beautiful process. And it really began on dealing with our own journey. And then over time, we started to put a language to the things that God was showing us. And as it is, we've been able to help literally thousands of people do the same that are hungry for integrating those three.
Oh, that's so sweet. I just love like seeing how y'all look at each other stuff too. I mean, listen, that's the good stuff, right? That's the good stuff about like connecting, marriage, all that good stuff. So I mean, I want to hear all of it, but you know, we'll get there. We'll get there. So she said I don't want to say it like you did, but
you could say it.
You said no, you said the junkie though. You said the junkie.
Yeah, I was the junkie.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, again, God was doing work in both of y'all, and you said like even by seeing her and stuff like that. I love that too because my husband said some stuff like that, like about how we met and how things was on his end and stuff, and you know, it just always like, how do you feel, Miss HollyKem, to hear that? Because I know how I feel whenever time my husband talks about it. So I mean, how do you feel when you?
I
hear
love
that?
when he tells that story because, you know, I had been married before, divorced. So at that point, I was not looking for anything. You know, I was settled at that point in my life at 27. I figured I'd be single for the rest of my life. It was not something that, you know, I didn't even know that I would deserve anything that good. Because I just, after, you know, just coming out of all that and working, and not that I'm still not coming out because I still work on myself 41 years. I'm still working on myself. But in that moment, I was like, if I could just, be connected, to God, to love, and to be able to share that with people, that was going to be enough for me. So, it wasn't like I had no desperation. I was not looking for anything as far as a relationship, had done that, been there, and felt like, okay, this is like, I already been there. So when Dean, came into my life, and then as we became best friends, and through that best friend, he felt like, he was in love with me, and I was not prepared for that. I was like, well, you're going to have to deal with that, because I was just, I just couldn't, what it boiled down to, when the work that I did not feel worthy of his innocence and pureness of who he was. And because I came from such darkness, it was like, you need to be with somebody that hasn't walked the path I've walked. And he was like, no. No.
God has bigger plans. I know
God has
sometimes,
me.
I know earlier this year I was even questioning my marriage. And not to be like that anything was so horrible, but I think the enemy uses any and everything, right, to try to break up something good, especially marriage and things
Yes.
like that. And I was asking God earlier this year, I'm like, Lord, why him? And why this and why that? Because it could have been like this or it could have been like that. And but I feel like as God was answering my questions, he was showing me like, look where you are, look what you're doing, and all this different type of stuff. So by the time we did get to our anniversary, and for the 8 years, I was definitely more appreciative of everything, because I had been on this journey, like mentally, of being like asking God why. And so I think just even hearing your testimony there is showing that, even though you didn't feel worthy, God had other plans. He wanted to show you that you are, right. And then I mean, I'm sure there's things that Dr. Dean can probably speak for himself, so we'll hear what he has to say about his end. But I'm sure there's things that he was learning and growing on his end as well, by being with you. And then obviously you guys on this journey together, that you've already affected thousands of people, that you already said. And so if it wasn't you and you, then, would this impact be there? Maybe, but maybe not, and so God knows
That,
what he's doing. Yeah.
Right.
yeah, and there's a principle. What I've learned over the years is that the married couple is actually the first church. Like, that's, the original church was Adam and Eve walking in harmony with God. And the first fight biblically was when, after they sinned, and he was saying, no, it was her, kind of thing. And so it really bespeaks to the fact that when we're out of harmony with him, that's the cause of out of harmony with each other. And that was the original unit that he created for his presence to be released through. And I think that's still true today, and that's why there's so much fighting against the married couple, the traditional family, because that's what the enemy needs to attack. If one can make 1,000 fly, two can make 10,000. There's exponential power when you and your husband, or me and my wife, are in unity with each other, in harmony with God. And even the word ecclesia, which is translated into English as church, when Jesus said, upon this rock I will build my church, the word ecclesia was actually, it wasn't a religious term. Jesus could have said, upon this rock I'll build my synagogue, or I will build my temple. And he didn't use those religious terms. He used ecclesia. And ecclesia was actually, in Greek, was when, or at the time, the Romans, if you had 2 or 3 Romans that were citizens and they went to a foreign land like Egypt that was conquered, they had political and jurisdiction to be able to change the structures of that society to line up with Rome. So Rome would look the same in Rome as it would in Egypt. And so when you had 2 or 3 people that were Roman citizens together, they could change the structures of society to reflect Rome. Well, Jesus co-opted that same term. And so originally ecclesia was 2 or 3 believers that are bringing the kingdom of heaven and changing the structures of their culture, of their society, the spheres of influence, to look like heaven. And so we've kind of evolved to where church means a building or a place on a corner where we gather, which is very valuable. But the original notion was 2 or 3 people that gather together in his name actually become a church. And so that's when Jesus taught, when two or three are gathered in my name, I'm there in his midst. He was talking about the ecclesia. He was talking about that same notion. So when you break that down, really, this is the most fundamental, powerful unit that we use, that God wants to use in order to impact the world around us. And it begins with our family, then our neighborhood, then our businesses, and goes out like that. And so that's why there's so much attack on marriage.
Right.
There's so much attack. I know what you teach so much is about not only God, marriage, sex, sacred, it all works together. And that's why there's so much attack on sex.
Yeah.
Because that is one of the greatest expressions of unity and one of the greatest gifts that God has given us. And it's such a sacred thing that if it can be defiled, then it starts to break the unity of the connection. And so when we start to uncover the true intent that God had for the married couple, the sexual union, the power, the spiritual power he wants to release through us, then we can understand why there's all these attacks on so many different levels.
Yeah. Look, we can see why you fell, Miss HollyKem. Like,
now you see,
like a look good old God fearing man,
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, yes, sir. I totally agree, and I can't help but sit here and think about, like, again, like our household. I'm so thankful for, again, my husband, because obviously the reason I'm able to even be doing this today is because I got his support, and then I see how important it is. We have a son now; he's 6 and stuff like that, and I just see even the little time we've had, the 6 years, right? Us being here, I see how much of the impact it has, like for him to have both of us. You know what I'm saying? And for us both to be pouring into him, and because there's the times where mommy may be a little bit like, I'm then enforcing. Dad might be the one that's like the calm one, X, Y, and Z, or it might be flipped around, and mommy's nurturing and stuff like that. And I just think those dynamics are just so important, and I could just even see like the stuff for my son. Like, he'll come here today. Like, I can let y'all meet him after we get done filming if you want to. But he would come here to y'all, and I was doing like daily affirmations with him, because we decided to do, like, it's homeschool, but it's also like a virtual a virtual public school. So we making. I'm able to see like what's being taught,
got your eyes on
and stuff like that. That's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
But we've been doing that, and I know it's different from the way I was raised and the way my husband was raised and stuff. But I'm like, I just feel like we're in a different time. We're in but again, another conversation. But anyway, I'm sharing this because, like, even just me being this hands-on with him when it comes to his education, like, we would start the day like doing affirmations, right? And after maybe like a month, like, we started August the 7th, and I want to say a few weeks ago, or maybe towards the end of September, he like knows it by heart now. Like, you know what I'm saying? At first he was repeating after me, like, I'm a child of God, I'm a new creator, whatever. Those those verses as affirmations, and now he'll say them like this. And I just, or even, for example, he was talking to his teacher the other day, because we have to do check-ins, like monthly check-ins, phone calls with the teacher and stuff. And so and she's like, "Oh, you have any questions for me?" He's like, "I might have a hard one. How many books are in the Bible?" I was like, and she didn't know, and it was like, and I was like, ooh. And he's like, "It's 66." And so, and he's like, "I like the Bible." And my whole thing is like, those moments are just, I don't know what this kid's gonna grow up and be, but I'm just grateful, right, for the opportunity. And I say all that to say, like, it's what you're saying, right? It's the marriage, right? And then it's the family, it's the being able to pour into the child, and then it goes and then it just keeps going and flowing. And I just think you've already expressed, shared how important that is, but I just was giving another example of why we need it, right? We need the union of marriage. We need, again, obviously the relationship to, the sexual relationship, all that stuff as well. And then we need the families to be poured into, and a lot of that is broken right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very broken. Well, and we talk about, in the Word of God, it talks about leaving 7 generations of wealth. There's lots of ways to leave wealth. Am I leaving of the wealth of a healthy marriage? So there can be 7 generations behind us on what that really looks like. How, emotional health. Am I leaving, 7 generations of wealth with emotional health. You know, so it's like when I see it in a different way, that it's not just money and prosperity. Of course, we want that. But, you know, as my soul prospers, then I prosper.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, what does that mean? So it's like in myself, how do I love myself? Because I can only love you and God as much as I love myself. So when I learn how to be the I am a child of God, that you're speaking God's name as you're saying who you are, that you're claiming the identity of God and all that he's given us. And so for each person, like for your child, we have a child too. He's getting married next month. He's 25. So our Moses is all, you know, we've always put that in him as well. And, you know, we sat down like, you know, all of this kind of stuff when we adopted him 25 years ago, that we would put everything into him, like you, like just being very invested in him. And not that other people and what we did wasn't important, but we knew that this is what God wanted for us. And what you were talking about, what is he going to be? And what I always taught Moses was that, you know, when people ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? When he was little, I said, they're asking you, what do you want to do for money? And you can do a lot of things for money. You know, I said, but when they ask you, what do you want to be? You want to say, I want to be a good, godly man.
Yeah.
And so his fiance asked me one day, she said, Miss HollyKem, she said, did Moses ever want to be anything besides a good, godly man in his life? I said, no. I said, that's always what he wanted to be. So what he does with for money, it won't matter because he's a good, godly man and he will be blessed and favored in all areas of his life.
Come on now. Look,
Yeah.
look. Y'all got me feeling warm on the inside. Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I love the affirmations that you're doing with your son.
So important.
They will be manifested.
Yes.
You know, I learned this by accident. Ever since we got Moses, he was adopted. He's from Cambodia, and we got him at 3 months. And ever since we had him, always just as a term of endearment, said, you know, he's such a sweet boy. You're a sweet boy. You know, and I would say that, and it was like his nickname.
Right.
And but I couldn't tell you how many times we went to parent teacher conferences, 7th, 6th grade, 5th grade, and the word the teacher would use to describe, say he needs this, that, but he's such a sweet boy, and he's such a sweet boy. Every year they would use that exact word, and it was the word that was spoken over him, and he spoke, you know, for years and years, and it actually became part of his being. And so I really commend you on doing that early with your son, is having him speak those affirmations, because they'll manifest.
Like
they will
every now
manifest.
and then, it makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing, or, you know, on the right track or something. And then sometimes I'm like, you know, because for example, like we got to finish doing some assignments when I get done with this, and I'm like, sometimes I'm like, do I need to send you to regular school? Because are you listening? Are you, you know? Because I try to let them have some freedom, you know, be able to talk, you know, stuff like that, you know. And I hate to say this stuff I feel like I didn't get a chance to grow up with, because look, if I had an opinion, oh God, World War III, like if that's how it felt for me. Not all the time, but most of the time. And I'm like, so I try to let him express himself, you know, that type of stuff. But also understanding that I'm mom, be respectful. This is school right now, you know. And so, but again, like I said, we were on the phone call the other day, and the teacher was asking him about, you know, things that he should have been knowing and things like that. And he knew everything that she asked. And I'm like, he's actually listening and learning. Yay! And I don't know. This is just kindergarten. So this is just, we'll see how it goes for the older years. But, you know, we're going to see. We're going to see. But yeah, every now and then he loves church. You know what I'm saying? He loves, you know. And so, yeah. So I feel like I'm doing all right. I feel like I'm doing all right.
Doing good.
But look, we saying all that to say, right, how important it is, right, for the marriage, right, the union, the family, and you know, all those things that are currently being attacked. And so it sounds like, again, y'all are doing some great work, some great ministry about all these things, books, right, and it seems like some coaching and whatnot as well. So I want to definitely hear about all of that. I want to touch on it a little bit. Look, Dr. Dean, if you don't mind, I mean, because you touched on it just like a smidge. So if you want to have more to say about this, you know, let me know. It's because you was on this celibate journey and path, right? And so then you said Miss HollyKem awoken some things, X, Y, and Z, which is, you know, a beautiful thing. I guess I'm curious to like how that transition was for you in regards to like dealing with that and being like, okay, how can I be around her, when I'm thinking things that I may not, or whatever the case may be, I don't know. I'm just making assumptions based on what I know about relationships. Right. But anyway, how is that being around her with those new feelings and things of that nature? And because I feel like a lot of people are using that word celibate, for example, when they really mean abstinent,
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you knew the difference because you was on a path of because
Right.
you was vision on, and so that's what you thought, right? But obviously, God had other plans. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of see what you had to say about that journey.
And we're not afraid to talk about sex, so don't worry.
Yeah, well, I'm still adjusting, I guess.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I do think that in Catholicism is kind of unique in some ways, in a sense that there's this real unhealthy teaching that doesn't equate health with sexuality, health with sexual expression, and that it's seen as almost oftentimes comes from a forbidden or a no zone kind of thing. So when you have that, whether it's said or whether it's implied, because the way the church structure is set up is that the person that is most holy, oftentimes the priest, is one who denies his sexual urges and crucifies it in a sense. So, but yet at the same time, it took a lot of work to really understand that no, the gift of our sexuality, of our sexual urges, our desire for her, for my wife, is actually such a sacred and beautiful thing. And it's such a gift. And it took a lot of work to do that. I mean, throughout our marriage, in terms of doing that. I mean, we connected so well on a friendship level. We connected so well as partners in so many ways. But we really had to evolve into the fact that is so sacred and most important and pure, and that it's one of the greatest gifts that God gives us. I think that the other thing is that we went to a workshop one time when my son graduated from high school. I knew we needed to do a little something to get us reoriented, because it's such a big adjustment. So
we have one kid.
I said, we're going to this conference, this conference up in North California, and it's Love After Marriage. And so it was Monday through Friday from 9 in the morning to 6 in the evening, like intensive work on your marriage. And so we're doing this, and it's had some beautiful principles of letting go, forgiveness, communication also. Then we get into about Wednesday, and they said, okay, now we're going Thursday morning. We're going to talk about sex, and I'm like, she's all excited. I'm like, sex, we're going to talk about this in a group and stuff. So anyway, they do, and they talk about it. And it just really gives a lot of beautiful revelation on original intention. And then they say, okay, we're going to give you the 30-day challenge. It's like, 30-day challenge. Okay, what's the 30-day challenge? He said, the 30-day challenge is 30 sexual encounters in 30 days with your spouse. And I'm like, oh my, I don't even know if this is possible for me. I'm 50-something years old. I mean, I was like, what's going on here? And my wife was like, so
right.
So we took the challenge, so because I'm competitive, okay, we're going to do this kind of thing.
Nice.
And it was one of the most beautiful things that occurred in our marriage. And I started to realize that even we're very different in a lot of ways. She's very circular. I'm very linear. We're both very strong-headed in terms of our ideas. But by having those encounters so frequently, we actually started thinking alike. Like I could finish her sentences, she could finish mine. I mean, there was a oneness being created that was just extraordinary. It was extraordinary. And then a lot of the little things that just kind of bother me about her or vice versa, those were kind of getting out the window. And even my son, you know, we not only took the challenge for 30, but we kept on going, kind of thing, because it was such an awesome thing. And
Nice.
my son, it was interesting to see him because our relationship got a lot more playful. It got a lot more. It was always loving, but I mean, a lot more affection. He was like 18 years old, and he's like, "Y'all need to take that to the bedroom, man. Y'all are getting ridiculous, you know." And it was an interesting thing with him. We
Right.
noticed was that as we reclaim that part of our lives, the sexual part of our lives, and really integrate it in such a fuller way, it actually allowed him to become more innocent about
Yeah.
it. It was hard to describe. I don't know how to describe that, but it was like he got to grow up slower in that area because we were owning it in our area. It was an amazing thing,
Yeah.
huh?
I always say that teenagers never want to do what you're doing. So somebody better be having sex in the house because they're going to have it if you're not.
That's interesting. I guess I never, I don't know if I ever thought about it, but I mean, I'm on team more married sex. I feel like,
Right.
again, this is another way the enemy is coming in.
Yes.
And you know, it's all those things you just, you know, described just now.
Yeah.
You know, you described that obviously it's bringing you all closer. It's making you, you know, more affectionate. All these different type of things where I hate to keep talking about how broken things are, but I mean, when I make
Yeah.
observations, or even when I think about, you know, my own marriage and different things like that, I feel like, again, this is where the enemy comes in and he'll make everything else, like outside of marriage and whatnot, oh, that's anything goes and stuff like that. But then you get married, and then that's when you hear the rumors about there's no sex in the marriage, and there's no, you know, purpose for the man, and, you know, just all these different type of things. And then on the flip side, like, it sounds like, I don't know, seems like me and Miss HollyKem might have things in common, because it seems like you are on one end of like, oh, 30 days, 30 consistently, you know, whatever. And then,
Yes.
and I would be like, it sounds like the one being like,
Yeah.
yeah, let's go, you know.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and because again, there's this narrative about the woman that don't give it to the man, you know, and all this stuff. Look, we're going to have you back, Miss HollyKem, because we don't get the vibe talk about this. Because I'm like, look, what about the men folk that ain't, you know, consistent with the white women folk?
That's
Like,
right.
you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
That's
this
right.
is a real thing too, and it's a real problem out here, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just one of those things. I'm sorry. Let me get
No, it's
about
really
y'all.
important. Yeah, it's really important because the fallacy is in the lie is that women don't want to have sex, that they have headaches, and that they don't, and that's not true. And you know, they want to be desired. Women want to be desired, and when we're desired, we want you. You know, when we know that you want us, that's it. Because you know, woman was made from man, so in that sense, our whole world is figuring out how to fit back in. So it's like, if, you know, I always tell men, I'm like, okay, what you need to understand when your woman wants to know your schedule, it's not because she wants to control your schedule, because she doesn't have a choice about where she fits in. So if you are going to play golf on Saturday, all she wants to know that you're playing on golf on Saturday, because that's when she's going to go see her mom. She's going to go do her hair. She's going to do something that doesn't involve you. So she wants to make that plan while you're doing something else, because her first instinct internally, the way God made us, is we want to be there when you're there. We want to serve. We want to be there. We want to be connected. We want to be close. So not that we want to suck you to death. We're not going to go do our hair on Sunday if you are going to be going on Saturday. I'll do it on Saturday, you know, and that way I'm more available to be awake, to be there. And so it's not about control. So when, you know, spiritual warfare, the quickest way to have spiritual warfare is to make love with your husband, and the enemy has to move. And like, we make love to worship music because it's the most loving. It's a love song. It's a
Thought
love.
about that. I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, oh girl, go for it. It's
No, sorry.
I'm
No.
serious. It's
Do it. Okay.
candlelight, and it's worship music. Because you know, when you're singing a true, not a praise song, because a praise song is about how much I love you, God, but a worship song, you know, is it's just they're worshiping God. And so it's like when you put that music on, God is in the room, right? And the Holy Ghost is in the room. He ain't afraid. God ain't afraid of us having sex and being naked. They were walking with God naked, okay? He don't have no shame. So it's like in that, the Spirit of God is there, right? Because I want to make love in that type of love. I want to be in that. So it's like, that's what's on. And so, sometimes, my husband loves like Luther Vandross and, he's a brother. He loves all that good stuff. So, yeah, but we always end up back with our worship music, because when we did that 30 and 30, I was like, I have that inside of me. And I'm like, I want a year. I want a day. I want 365. And my husband was like, have you lost your mind? You very smart, you highly intelligent. It ain't about performance. That's not the goal. It's about intention. That we go to bed with on our heart and in our mind, body, and spirit, that we're going to love each other.
Yeah, part of the advice that we were given that was really important, and I think it's good for your audience, is that you need to save 10% for your spouse. When you pour out during the day, you can only pour out 90.
Only 90.
Because you have to save 10%. Oftentimes, couples aren't connecting in the evening because they're just exhausted. I've poured out here. I've done work. I've run here. But when you have in your mind, I need to save 10% for my spouse, 10% of my energy, then it creates enough energy to be able to give to each other, to create encounter that's very important. And I think that was a real shift that was really beautiful, is that, no, I'm going to save some for you. I'm going to save some of me for you. I'm not going to give it to everyone else. And then you get the leftovers.
Right. And what I can tell you, that everything, Dean and I have been in love, and one of the keys for us is that he loves Jesus more than he loves me, and I love Jesus more than I love him. And so that's, our whole relationship has been based on that. So in that process, as we continue to go, and then we act, because married people have sex, but they love in 1,000 ways. So that's an easy one to kind of get pushed aside, especially when you have children. You're just so busy, and you just both, you love in so many ways. You take out the trash, you work hard, you put the money in the bank, you do your hair, you all these things. You put his clean underwear in his drawer. There's 1,000 ways, but this is the one thing that kind of gets pushed aside. And that's why they say married people don't have sex. Well, because we love in a lot of ways. Okay. But when we put it back in the room and we put it back on the table and we go, okay, this is something I can kiss people. I'm not saying, French kiss, but I can kiss people. I can hug people. I can do everything with people, but that one thing. And so this is the one thing that God gave me to give to you, and you to me. And so my prayer has been, since we made that decision, was that I asked God to put all the love that he has for Dean in my heart, and for me to be able to show him in that way. That it comes straight from God, because I'm the only one that God has chosen to give it to him in that way. And I didn't make up sex. God made up sex. That's how he chose to create another human being for his earth. So it's like that became so, like, God just showed me that. And it was like, okay, so if this is my way that I get to be his one and only, then I'm going to be his one and only. And I'm going to do this with all of God's love. So from there, it started to be like, we didn't want to miss that. Whatever it looked like, if it was holding, kissing, or intercourse, the goal was intercourse, but it didn't matter. It was love. And so this has been since 2017. Okay. And I can tell you, the first 3 years we made it every day. The next 2 years was about 340. And now it's, more than not. Okay. A week, more than not. But it's like the love is so strong that we make love all day when we look at each other in our eyes. Like, yeah.
Well, I'm a little witness in this little few minutes.
Yeah. It's like we really are so connected. And it's because we seized what God gave us. We acknowledged what God gave us and we took it to the bank. It was like, this is ours. And, it's like, people want to invest in stock, because you want wealth. Well, I'm invested in this because I want this company to work. I want this to be the height.
Man,
That's
listen,
good, man. My girl's teaching.
I'm over here like, wait, did y'all get this in the course, or it's just wisdom for the years, like, or was it the what y'all went to? Was it the experience y'all went to, or where did this come from? We need to bottle it up, like what?
Yeah, it's a whole journey. It's the whole journey. One of the things we realized, and that's really the work that we do in our book, is it's our woundedness that holds us back. And so say if I was wounded in a sexual area, then I may develop a coping behavior that would either avoid it or to repeat the wound over and over again. And so in order to reclaim the sexual part of myself, I need to work through the wound. I need to acknowledge it. I need to process it with safe people. I have to work through it. I have to reclaim. It's almost like I need to reclaim my innocence in a sense of what was lost. And I think in all of our journeys, I mean, we're talking about our sexual expression, but that could be in all kinds of areas. And so our whole goal has been to help people recognize what are the wounds that have created blocks in your life and have held you back from being the best version of who you are. And we need to work with those. We need to honor them. We need to give you a safe space. We need to help you give expression to it. And we also need to look at how you cope with it in an unhealthy way. Right? So if I had wounding around my sexuality, or I had sexual experiences that were painful or traumatic, then I could develop a coping behavior that would be asexual or hypersexual. And that I need to deal with those things in order to reclaim what God has given me. So we want our people to have it all. And if there was anything lost along the way due to wounding, due to our reactions to the wounding, we're going to work through those two things so that you can reclaim the original intent that God had for you at the very beginning. And so, we could go by a mantra that we really believe that our greatest secrets and our greatest hurts are meant to become our greatest treasures. And what we mean by that is that those areas that we're most ashamed of, the places that we've been most hurt, as we bring them to the surface and we allow healing to happen and we invite the Lord into that, He will actually transform those things to become life-giving to others. So HollyKem struggled with an addiction that was very shameful for her, and she had to overcome that. But not only has she overcome it and healed from it, but she's helped so many people come out of the bondage of addiction. Her greatest secret has become her greatest treasure. And we can look at that, our own lives, other things that have happened. And that's what it happens. See, that's the redemptive of our human condition, is that redemption is more than just the salvation of our souls. Redemption is about transforming all of those hurt places into something that ends up bringing life to other people, brings healing to other people. And that's what we want for the people that we work with.
Right. And I was going to say, for myself, it's like, I mean, I have a lot of woundings in a lot of areas. Okay. You name it, it's there. And, I was sexually abused as a child. And so one of the things, like, I'm not a competitive person, like, with other women about beauty or, baseball or cards. Like, I'm not a competitive person. But when it came to taking my life back, I have a gold medal. And I will, if I don't have it in an area, I'm not stopping until I get it. Because Jesus walks on gold, I'm going for the gold. I don't want to leave nothing on earth. So what I realized is that when you took my sexuality and my innocence, it wasn't you that gave me that. God gave me that. So you think you took something that I can't recover back. But if I do my work and I own and look at, the wounds and love it. And then I look at how unhealthily I had to protect myself from being hurt again or acting out or whatever those things were. If I learn to love that, then guess what? I'm going to reclaim what God gave me. And I'm not going to let anybody take that away from me, what God intended for me. So doing the work becomes reclaiming all that he has for me. So I don't have to walk in the shame of what they did or the shame of what I did. I can walk in the truth of what he is and who he made me to be. So, when we invest in ourselves to do work in an area, we're investing in becoming all that he has for us. So, that's when the competitiveness comes. It's like, oh no, those are not going to win. Now, we talk about Jesus, I love talking about Jesus, but Jesus, what God showed me was that when Jesus came back to earth, that how did they know him? They knew him by his wounds. Now, they say Jesus, when people go to heaven and they come back to earth, they say Jesus, that's how they knew him. He still has the holes. So now Jesus has been sitting at the right hand of the Father for over 2,000 years. And they say we are healed by his stripes, by his wounds, right? That's what the word of God says. Yeah. So he's up there, and what heals the compassion. Jesus is compassion. Jesus knows every wound we're going to have because he's had them. But he still has his scars. But when we're on earth, we want that to go away. But Jesus still has them. So who am I to be any different than Jesus? That these scars, I need to heal, right? Of course. But if they start to ooze at any point, I need to do and have compassion and love. Because once I know I cross over, there is no more pain, right? But Jesus still has his scars. So I need to be like Jesus and know that, hey, I can work through this. God can heal this, but I need to just keep going and love it so I can be like Jesus. I can have compassion for myself and others. And the only way to do that is to love it.
That's a good word there.
It is. I can help but think like about a lot of I hate to say it like this again, but I feel like there's this entire generation that went through of like either brushing things under the rug, not talking about things, and then maybe trying to hide the scars, right? Try to hide like the truth and things of that nature. And I feel like we're kind of dealing with the residual of that now, where it's like, no, we're not gonna, this is what I went through. And I think there's power in our testimonies when we do, I guess, own those things or, acknowledge them or, and it's not about like exposing or anything, but it's more so about like understanding or helping someone else to understand that, hey, I'm here, you're not alone. Because I think a lot of times we try to, when we do brush it to the side or we do act like it didn't happen, then there's someone else out there feeling like this is only happening to me, or whatever. And so I feel like that's one thing about, I guess, the current generation now where we're like, okay, no, we are going to talk. You know what I mean? We are going to bring this out. We are going to, acknowledge the wounds or the things and things like that. But I think, but what you're talking about is the important part as well. Acknowledging, right, the healing that Jesus does and understanding that, okay, he paid it all, he's done it all. And I don't have to be ashamed, right, or hold on to fear or any of that about it. And I think the more that we do talk and the more that we do, I guess, expose in that sense of saying, you know what, hey, this is what I went through. This is how God brought me out. Again, I guess what I'm receiving right now is that it's even about like when you're having the conversations, acknowledging how, right, or acknowledging God in the midst of it. But see, I think sometimes either people think they got out on their own, or they don't want to like acknowledge the God part or whatever. Understanding that he was there in the midst of my trials and tribulations and things like that. He was there the whole time, like the footprints in the sand type thing. You're thinking that you were on your own when you were in the rough times, and so. I think that's where the power is. It's the testimony, yes, but then it's also the testimony to what God has done.
Yes.
that,
Right.
they can bring
And
more
what do
healing.
you do? What do you do when you acknowledge it and expose it? You have to carry out the principles that Jesus taught in order to move towards resolution. And he taught two principles that apply have tremendous psychological implications. One of them is repentance. Repentance is to have it's often seen vertically, I repent before God, but there's a horizontal dimension to it, that I need to have a heartfelt sorrow for the things that I've done to hurt others or my spouse, to own it, to verbalize it, and then make an adamant commitment to learn to do it differently. So that's one of the principles that moves towards resolution. The other one is forgiveness that he taught. And forgiveness is to recognize I've been hurt by what you have said or done to me, and I'm willing to lay that hurt down on the altar and ask God to remove that hurt. Now, everything in our relationship and everything in our connection with God has to do with the condition of our heart. It's not the condition of my mind, it's the condition of my heart. What makes a heart soft and pure is by practicing those two principles. If I own the things that I've done that have hurt you and verbalize it and repent for it, it actually ushers in the presence of God. So Jesus said, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. He's saying heaven's all around us, but the way you activate it in a situation is by practicing this principle. And that softens your heart. So if I hurt her and I own it, it not only amends her, hopefully, but it amends my heart with myself. And then when I let go of the hurts that have been done to me, it softens my heart. So when Jesus was talking to the Pharisees in the parable of the sower, he said, though they have eyes, they do not see spiritually, they're disconnected. Though they have ears, they do not hear, because their heart has grown hardened. See, the ability to see and connect has nothing to do with our eyes and ears. It has everything to do with the condition of our heart. But then, opposite of that, in the Beatitudes, he said, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. So when we practice those principles and purify our heart, then it opens up the channel to be able to see God and to connect. So when we're working as couples come in, obviously, because there's lots of hurts, there's lots of behaviors that have been done to hurt each other and so forth. And I say, if you practice those two principles, we can restore anything and usher the presence of God into your relationship and reconcile anything. So they might say, well, that's hard. Forgiveness is letting them off. No. Both of those things usher in the presence of God. The opposite is true too, is if you want hell in your relationship, never apologize and never forgive. And I promise you'll have hell in the relationship. So depending on how I handle these hurts and handle my behavior will depend on whether I bring heaven into the relationship or hell. And it's based on those two principles.
I don't know what's going on. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I hope that it recorded everything you said, because I can't hear y'all anymore. And I'm like, just like the enemy want to try to mess up the good old conversation here. But I hope that it's still recorded at least, because I feel like what you were on everything you were saying was a powerful thing, and then all of a sudden it just went on my end. So I can't hear y'all, but if y'all can hear me, then hopefully it's still recorded. I don't know if there's somehow we can keep going without me being able to hear you. But either way, I guess this might be a good time to wrap, just because of that. But I want y'all to come back, man. I feel like there's a lot that, that you guys can share and pour into this audience of things of that nature. We need more married people coming and showing what marriage can be, right, and being an encouraging and inspiration. But I guess I'll let you guys wrap with whatever you all want to share before we go. Definitely let us know where we can get your book, how can we book your services, things of that nature. And
is it better now? Can you hear us?
Recording and see if everything recorded as it But like I said, on my end, I just can't hear you, so I don't know what to expect in the recording at this moment. But
Okay.
this was a good conversation, regardless. You know what I mean? This is great, and I've enjoyed talking to y'all. And I mean, worst case scenario, we'll just have you back, and and
All
I know
right.
we can't get everything we got. I mean, maybe we'll just, I don't know, we'll figure it out. But
Yeah.
but yeah, by all means, like whatever else you want to share with us, the audience, and also definitely let us know where we can reach you and get your book and things of that nature.
Okay.
You want to
Sounds
say
good.
it?
Yeah. So our book is Roadmap to the Soul. And everything can be, that's on Amazon, or you can go to ihaveavoice.com, which is our website.
Yeah.
And we have our YouTube channel has many, many free videos for you to watch that on the concept that we talked about. You can get our book there. And also we have an intensive online program called Transform You,
Yeah.
which is a 3 to 4 month program that's a deep dive into this whole
Yeah.
process that we're talking about. So all those services are available to you, and we'd love to connect with you.
Yeah. And we thank you, Miracle, so much for having us. This is awesome. And what's so important is that God, sex, and love is some of the most foundational things that a couple needs to have, because it's the grounding point. It's the gifts from God for us. Great, great, great thing to be talking about.
Oh, I could kind of read the lips a little bit. Oh, I enjoyed you all too. I enjoyed talking to y'all. Like I said, you're welcome back anytime.
Oh, thank you. We happy.
Oh. I know we may have had a few technical difficulties, but that was a beautiful conversation. So thank you so much to Pastor Dean and Miss HollyKem for joining us tonight. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and check out their book and the rest of their endeavors. Have a good night.